I mean, I can't say that they unceremoniously dumped Kenny Atkinson because the way it's been reported, it was a mutual parting of ways. They gave him the chance to, I guess, step aside and save some dignity. He inherited nothing because Billy King was an absolute disaster as the GM for the Nets. Left nothing in the cupboard, not a single pick. Gave them all the way. They had to bring in Sean Marks. They brought in a strong foundation, hardworking, accountable people. And now, all of a sudden, with 20 games to go, a playoff season, by the way, Kenny Atkinson is out. And I have a lot of theories why, but I want to give you first crack. Go ahead, T.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of situations where superstars, a superstar or multiple superstars, come into a new place, a new city, and the existing coach is that guy. Right? A little bit it worked with Eric Spoelstra because he was there for a couple of years before that big three came together. It didn't work when LeBron came back to Cleveland. Obviously, David Blatt was hired, but it was kind of a surprise. I don't think the Cavaliers actually knew that LeBron was going to come back that year, right? So they hired David Blatt thinking they were going to have a development year. Ultimately, LeBron comes back and they get to the championship. He's just not the guy. And Ty Lue becomes the next head coach who ultimately does win a championship. LeBron going out to L.A.
We're talking about Luke Walton start?
Luke Walton, definitely not.
But he was by himself, so he didn't have that second star.
True, but it didn't matter. It was just about the superstar going someplace where there's an existing like philosophy. And when that superstar comes, I mean, I don't care what you want to do.
Yeah.
I don't care, Kenny Atkinson, that you like sharing the ball, you like lifting players who are, I don't know, sub-elite to great levels together. When you get superstars, you got to cater to the superstar. And so ultimately, I do think that's what's happened. But I think often it's really hard for an existing situation to stay the same when a superstar comes. And that's my gut. That's what I think ultimately went down, is that you're coaching to these sub-elite guys, how you're coaching to the elite guy. It's harder than it seems.
I don't disagree with that. And really Joe Torre was perfect at that. Joe Torre managed
great example of different sport.
Managed a lot of places, had nothing with the Mets, and was actually pretty good with the Braves and with the Cardinals for a couple of years as well. But there are certain coaches who are best at dealing with egos and maybe, a little average on the chalkboard, but it all works out. And then there are others who are elevators and grinders. And listen, maybe Kenny is just a grinder. Maybe Kenny is just an elevator. But the fact that he doesn't get a chance, to me, is really a turnoff to the way this whole thing went down. I mean, Kyrie Irving's played 20 games this year. The record is a losing when he plays versus when he does not. So they play better without him, literally. Kevin Durant hasn't played a second. And, I understand. You can't tell me that it's Spencer Dinwiddie and it's Joe Harris and Allen who are leading the charge, the ouster. I mean, we can frame this a million different ways. I know there's a bunch of different reports. Shams had a couple, whatever. They didn't want him coaching, and now he's not coaching. Well, and that's fine. But it's a terrible look, again, for a guy who learned nothing from his stint in Boston.
But I don't think you can
Irving.
I don't think you can put this all on Kyrie Irving. I mean, obviously some of it is because of his aloof nature, like just the way that he is. But it can't all be on him. It feels like, to me, just listening to Kenny Atkinson talk about this, that like he understood that these guys weren't listening to him. He understood that what worked for him last year wasn't going to work, obviously not this year, and not going forward either, right? This unselfishness, this ball movement. There's one team in NBA history that became a dynasty by sharing the ball among superstars. That was the Golden State Warriors. It doesn't happen, right? Even if you watch the Lakers and the Clippers, it becomes like the LeBron James show, or we're gonna get to AD, or it's going to be Kawhi if you're talking about the Clippers and Paul George. I mean, they scored 31 and 29 points respectively. So it's like respectively. So it's like one of those things where like sharing the ball works if everybody buys in. But when you have ISO players like Kyrie is, telling him to share the ball is not going to work.
Yeah, but I don't think that that's fair for those who that's basically saying that Kenny Atkinson can't adapt. Kenny Atkinson played Division I basketball. Kenny Atkinson, do you think he is not smart enough to know that when we go to training camp next year, KD, you're going to get yours, brother. Kyrie, you're going to get yours. Do you really think that he would resist that? Do you really think he would try to mold him into a 1950s weave, run the weave team? I mean, come on. It's really laughable. And let's say this about Kyrie. Forget about Durant for a second. But Kyrie Irving, to me, if not for, I can't use the buzzword because the stats are there.
Yep.
But if not for, and listen to me clearly, everybody, I mean this. If not for LeBron James, Kyrie Irving would be perceived strongly as a losing player.
Yeah, but he's such
losing
he's got
player.
such great skills.
So what? Losing player.
Potentially.
Who poisoned Boston. And we know this, T, because you and I have gone through this a few times. They were going nowhere before LeBron came back. He had them on the road to the 8th seed if they continue to improve incrementally because they had a couple of 20-win seasons. They were bad with him when they got him. They were bad when he was there before LeBron came back.
Let me back up.
So what has he really done?
Let me
without
back
LeBron, nothing.
Let me give you an example.
The Nets are worse with him.
Just briefly, an example of the Lakers. So you watch the Lakers. Again, the Clippers, and this is really both teams. It could be the Clippers or the Lakers, but since I've seen more of the Lakers this year, I'll talk about the Lakers.
Okay.
All right. The Lakers, when they execute pick and rolls or back screens or whatever it may be, when they do these things, it is like precise. Like LeBron is on the court. He's instructing guys what to do. They see these, and it happened, and it was brought up a lot yesterday. Like they were targeting Lou Williams and Marcus Morris. It was like, that's the guy I want to get the ball to. So you guys pick each other, and then now bring him up here so I can pick, so he can switch and be on me.
Yep.
And I'm gonna run by him like he did at the end of the game. Right? It's like it's a precision exercise.
Yeah.
Right? And you see it, and it's like beautiful to watch if you know what you're looking at. You're not
harmonious
you're not
when
just
it's going
waiting for
right.
the shot. You're like,
It's like an opera.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
You're
great.
watching what's happening, like
Yep.
all this movement, and it's executed perfectly. The Nets, now getting back to the Nets and Kenny Atkinson, like watching them try to do those things was ugly, man. Like these guys were like running into each other.
About with Kyrie or without?
Both. But with Kyrie and without Kyrie. But lately, without Kyrie. I mean, this happened over the weekend. Like you see, like they're discombobulated. Like they can't function correctly. And that's why when Kenny Atkinson was asked about this, or at least according to the reports, when he talked about this, he's like, I think maybe these guys aren't listening to me because he can't coach them, right? He can't get them to execute the simple things correctly. So who is that on? It's not on Kyrie because he's not playing. I mean, maybe it's on Joe Harris and Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie and all these other. Maybe it is, but ultimately, when you can't function like that, it's on the coach. So,
But you're being unfair to him. I got to ask you this: Are the Nets behind the Knicks and the Pistons and the Bulls right now?
No.
They're behind teams that are much better than them.
Of course they
the
are.
Raptors are better. The Celtics are better. The 76ers are better. The Pacers are better. The Nets are right where they should be. So how could you
think
tell
you're
me
right.
that they're underachieving?
I don't think they're underachieving.
Or how can anybody say that they're not running the simple things to succeed?
Because they're not executing them well. That's
They
all I'm
executed
saying.
well enough to be a 7th seed.
But that's kind of almost beside the point.
But they had nobody.
But that's almost beside the point. It's about like creating this culture. And interesting, I use that word accidentally, but it's what Kevin Durant talked about when Kevin Durant was asked about this maybe a couple of weeks ago. He's like, the culture's not right here, right? And so KD, who hadn't played a minute, and we talked about this earlier, hadn't played a minute, is talking about the culture of the Nets. And so when you talk about culture, when you talk about not executing efficiently or effectively on a regular basis, that falls on the coach. And so as much as I hear what you're saying about Kyrie, I can't put it all on Kyrie. Maybe he's a contributing factor to this in many ways, because Kyrie being like the man, put that in quotes, the man on this team, the guys take their cues from him. And like he does this stuff in his sleep. He doesn't have to work hard at it. These other guys think they can do it in their sleep and not work hard at it. The problem is they can't. And so that ultimately, that's what leadership is, by the way. And so I agree with you to an extent, but I can't dump it all at Kyrie's doorstep.